The morning crowd at Nexus Prime was busy as always. The huge space station floated in the empty darkness between star systems, a place where ships from dozens of different worlds came to trade. Long metal corridors stretched in every direction, filled with the sounds of alien voices bargaining over prices and making deals. Captain Jake Morrison walked through the main trading plaza with his 8-year-old daughter, Emma, by his side. The little girl pressed her face against the tall windows, watching the colorful ships dock and undock from the station. Her blonde hair bounced as she turned her head to look at every strange new sight. "Daddy, look at that one," Emma pointed at a ship that looked like a giant purple flower. "It's so pretty," Jake smiled down at his daughter. "That's a botanical trader from the Kepler system. They grow their ships instead of building them." Emma's blue eyes went wide with wonder. She carried her favorite stuffed animal, a small brown teddy bear named Buttons, tucked under her arm. This was her first time visiting such a big alien station, and everything amazed her. The Liberty's Edge, Jake's cargo ship, was docked at Bay 47 for routine repairs. While his crew worked on the engines, Jake had decided to show Emma around the station. His wife, Karen, had died 2 years ago in a shuttle accident, leaving him to raise Emma alone while working as a cargo captain. As they walked through the crowded plaza, Jake noticed a group of tall, blue-skinned aliens gathering near the center. These were Zephyrians, one of the most powerful trading species in the galaxy. They wore expensive robes and carried themselves with the pride of those who considered themselves better than others. "Make way for the tribunal," one of the Zephyrians announced in a loud voice. Other aliens in the plaza stopped their business and moved aside. Even the giant rock-like Centaurians, who normally pushed through crowds without caring, stepped back respectfully. Jake pulled Emma closer to him. He had dealt with Zephyrians before and knew they could be difficult. Their society was built on a strict caste system where your birth decided your whole life. The ruling class looked down on everyone else, including humans, 3 Zephyrians. In golden robes entered the plaza, followed by guards carrying energy staffs. Between them walked a 4th Zephyrian, but this one was different. She wore simple gray clothes and had metal chains around her wrists. Her skin was the same blue color as the others, but strange glowing patches covered her arms and face. These patches pulsed with a soft light that seemed to change from blue to purple to red. "What are those pretty lights on her skin?" Emma whispered to her father. "Those are bioluminescent patches," Jake explained quietly. "All Zephyrians have them, but they show different patterns depending on which group they belong to." The female Zephyrian's patches were pulsing rapidly with orange and red colors. Even without understanding their language, Jake could tell she was afraid and angry. Her dark eyes looked around the plaza as if searching for help that would never come. The lead Zephyrian in golden robes raised his hand for silence. When he spoke, his voice carried clearly across the plaza through a translation device. "Citizens of the galaxy, witness the justice of the Zephyrian Empire. This female, called Krixta, has committed the crime of questioning the natural order. She has spoken against the sacred caste system that has kept our people strong for 1,000 years. Krixta lifted her chin defiantly. When she spoke, her voice was strong despite her fear. "I only asked why some people are born to rule while others are born to serve. Why should the color of our patches decide our worth?" The crowd murmured at her words. Some aliens nodded in agreement while others looked shocked at her boldness. "You see how she continues to spread her poison," the lead Zephyrian said. "For this crime, Krixta of the Sulthara caste is hereby exiled from all Zephyrian worlds. She will carry the mark of shame so that all our people will know to reject her." 2 guards stepped forward, holding a strange device that looked like a metal spider. Jake felt his stomach turn as he realized what was about to happen. The Zephyrian justice system was known for being harsh, but this was cruel even by their standards. "Don't look, Emma," trying to turn his daughter away, but Emma was already watching with wide eyes as the guards pressed the device against Krixta's neck. The alien woman screamed as the machine injected something into her bloodstream. Her bioluminescent patches flared bright white with pain, then began to change color, turning a sickly yellow-green. The mark of shame will ensure that no Zephyrian will ever help you, the lead official announced. You are dead to your people. Find your own way in the galaxy, outcast. With that, the guards removed Crixta's chains and walked away, leaving her alone in the center of the plaza. The other Zephyrians followed, their golden robes flowing behind them like the wings of predatory birds. Crixta stood there for a moment, touching her neck where the device had injected her. Then she stumbled and fell to her knees. Her patches were now flashing erratically, and Jake could see she was in terrible pain. The crowd of aliens around the plaza looked uncomfortable. Some whispered among themselves, but no one moved to help. The rock-like Centaurians simply turned away, their business more important than one alien's suffering. The insect-like Thrix chittered nervously and scurried away from the scene. "Why isn't anyone helping her?" Emma asked, tugging on her father's sleeve. Jake looked around at the other aliens. He knew why they weren't helping. The Zephyrians controlled some of the most important trade routes in the galaxy. Going against them could mean losing valuable business contracts. Most species found it easier to look the other way when the Zephyrians enforced their harsh laws. "Politics, sweetheart," Jake said softly. "Sometimes grown-ups make bad choices because they're scared of getting in trouble." Emma frowned at this answer. She had been raised to help people when they were hurt. Her father had taught her that doing the right thing was more important than doing the easy thing. Crixta was now lying on the cold metal floor of the plaza, her body shaking. The yellow-green patches on her skin were spreading, and Jake realized with horror that whatever they had injected her with was getting worse. "She's really sick, isn't she?" Emma asked. "Yes, she is," Jake admitted. "Then we should help her." Before Jake could stop her, Emma broke away from his hand and ran toward the fallen alien. Her small feet slapped against the metal floor as she crossed the plaza, clutching buttons tightly to her chest. "Emma, wait!" Jake called out, but his daughter was already kneeling beside Crixta. The entire plaza fell silent. Hundreds of aliens stared in shock as the small human girl gently touched the exiled Zephyrian's shoulder. Emma's innocent act of kindness had done something that none of the sophisticated alien civilizations had dared to do. Crixta's eyes fluttered open as she looked up at Emma with confusion. She had never seen a human child before, but she could recognize kindness in any language. Emma held out her teddy bear, offering it to the suffering alien. "Here," Emma said in her small voice. "Buttons always makes me feel better when I'm scared." Jake ran to his daughter's side, his heart pounding. He could feel the stares of every alien in the plaza boring into him. Some looked curious, others disapproving, and a few seemed genuinely shocked by what they were witnessing. As Jake knelt beside Emma and Crixta, he made a decision that would change everything. Sometimes, he thought, an 8-year-old girl understood right and wrong better than all the politicians and traders in the galaxy. The silence in the plaza was so complete that Jake could hear his own heartbeat. Every alien eye was fixed on his daughter as she knelt beside the fallen Zephyrian, offering her teddy bear with the pure kindness that only a child possessed. Crixta, Hess. Yellow-green patches flickered weakly as she looked up at Emma. Despite the pain coursing through her body, she managed a small smile. She had never seen a human child before, but she understood the gesture. Slowly, she reached out and touched the soft brown fur of the teddy bear. "Thank you, little one," Crixta whispered in broken English. Her voice was rough from the pain, but her words were clear. Emma beamed at the alien woman. "His name is Buttons. He's really good at making people feel better." The crowd around them began to murmur. Some aliens moved closer to get a better look at the strange scene. Others backed away, clearly uncomfortable with what they were witnessing. Jake felt the weight of hundreds of stares pressing down on him. He knew he should probably take Emma and leave before they got involved in something dangerous. But looking at his daughter's face, so full of innocent compassion, he couldn't bring himself to pull her away. "Emma, we should let the station doctors take care of her," Jake said gently, though he knew no station doctor would treat an exiled Zephyrian. "But Daddy, she's hurt really bad," Emma replied, not taking her eyes off Crixta. "Look how her pretty lights are all wrong." Jake had to admit his daughter was right. The bioluminescent patches on Krixta's skin were supposed to pulse in steady, beautiful patterns. Instead, they flickered erratically, sometimes going completely dark before flashing back to that sickly yellow-green color. Commotion at the edge of the plaza caught Jake's attention. The three Zephyrians in golden robes were returning, their faces dark with anger. Behind them marched a squad of station security guards, their weapons ready. "Human," the lead Zephyrian called out in a voice like ice. "Remove your offspring from the criminal immediately." Jake stood up slowly, keeping himself between the officials and his daughter. "She's just a child trying to help someone who's hurt." "That thing is no longer one of our people," the Zephyrian snarled. "It is an outcast, marked for rejection by all civilized beings. Your interference with our justice is noted and will be reported to your Earth authorities." The threat was clear. Humanity's position in the galactic community was still fragile. Earth had only been part of the interstellar trade network for 30 years, and they couldn't afford to make enemies of powerful species like the Zephyrians. More humans began to appear in the plaza. Word had spread quickly through the stations. Human quarter that Captain Morrison and his daughter were causing some kind of diplomatic incident. Jake recognized several faces from other Earth cargo ships docked at the station. Dr. Lisa Shun pushed through the crowd, her medical bag in hand. She was the chief medical officer aboard the Liberty's Edge and had worked with Jake for 5 years. Lisa was a small woman with kind eyes and steady hands, the kind of person who became a doctor because she genuinely wanted to help people. "What's the situation?" Lisa asked, kneeling beside Krixta without waiting for an answer. "Lisa, you shouldn't get involved," Jake warned. "This could cause problems for all of us." "I'm a doctor," Lisa replied simply. "I don't see an exiled criminal. I see a patient who needs help." She opened her medical bag and began scanning Krixta with a portable diagnostic device. The results made her face go pale. "This is bad," Lisa muttered. "Whatever they injected her with is attacking her cellular structure. If we don't treat this soon, she'd die." The lead Zephyrian stepped forward, his golden robes billowing. "The mark of shame is designed to ensure that outcasts cannot find sanctuary among our people. What happens to this creature now is no concern of ours." "You're killing her," Emma said, her small voice cutting through the tension like a knife. She stood up and faced the tall alien, still clutching buttons to her chest. "That's not justice, that's just being mean." Several aliens in the crowd shifted uncomfortably. A few even nodded in agreement with the human child's words. The Zephyrian's eyes blazed with fury. "You dare lecture us on justice, human whelp? Your species has been part of galactic civilization for less than a generation. You know nothing of our ways." "I know you're hurting someone who can't fight back," Emma replied, her chin jutting out stubbornly. "My daddy taught me that's wrong." More humans had gathered now, forming a loose circle around the scene. First Officer Danny Rodriguez from the Liberty's Edge stood with his arms crossed, clearly torn between loyalty to his captain and concern for their mission. Chief Engineer Betty Walsh whispered urgently with 2 other cargo captains, probably discussing the political implications of getting involved. The station's administrator, a pompous Centaurian named Vexstar, arrived with additional security. His rocky skin gleamed under the plaza's lights as he surveyed the situation with obvious displeasure. "This gathering is disrupting station operations," Vexstar announced. "All parties will disperse immediately. We're not going anywhere until—" "She gets medical treatment," Emma declared, surprising everyone with her determination. Jake felt a surge of pride mixed with worry. His daughter had inherited her mother's fierce sense of justice. But this wasn't the time or place for such a stand. Dr. Chun looked up from her scans. "The genetic marker they used is incredibly sophisticated. It's not just making other Zephyrians reject her. It's actually rewriting her DNA, making her body attack itself." "Can you treat it?" Jake asked. "Maybe, but I'd need to get her to a proper medical facility. The equipment here isn't adequate for this kind of work." The lead Zephyrian laughed coldly. "No medical facility in Zephyrian space will treat a marked outcast, and no other species will risk our displeasure by helping her." "We will," Emma said simply. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Jake felt the moment when everything changed. When his daughter's simple declaration shifted the entire situation from a local incident to something much larger. "Emma," Jake said quietly, "do you understand what that means?" His daughter looked up at him with eyes that seemed far too old for her 8 years. "It means we do what's right even when it's hard." That's what Mommy would have done. The mention of Karen hit Jake like a physical blow. His wife had indeed been the kind of person who would have helped Krista without hesitation. She had always believed that doing the right thing was more important than doing the safe thing. Around them, the crowd of humans began to stir. Jake could see the internal struggle playing out on their faces. They all knew the risks of defying the Zephyrians, but they also knew that a child was asking them to save someone's life. Captain Susan Walsh of the merchant ship Golden Horizon stepped forward. She was a tough woman in her 50s who had been trading in space longer than most. "The kid's right," she said in her gravelly voice. "We can't just stand here and watch someone die." "This is madness," muttered Captain Tony Martinez from the New Frontier. "We'll lose our trading licenses. Earth Command will have our heads." "Then we'll deal with that when it happens," Jake said, making his decision. "Lisa, can you stabilize her enough to move her to our ship?" Dr. Chun nodded grimly. "I can try, but we need to move fast. The genetic marker is spreading." The Zephyrian officials moved to block their path. "You will not interfere with our justice," the lead official declared. "This outcast will remain here to face the consequences of her crimes." Emma stepped between the adults and the aliens, still holding her teddy bear. "She's not a criminal. She's just someone who asks questions. My daddy says asking questions is how we learn things." For a moment, Jake thought the Zephyrian might actually strike his daughter. The alien's face was twisted with rage, and his hands were clenched into fists. Then something unexpected happened. A young Zephyrian in the crowd, one wearing the simple clothes of a lower caste, spoke up. "The human child speaks truth," the young alien said. "Why should asking questions be a crime?" The lead official spun around, his eyes blazing. "Silence. Sulthara, you forget your place, but the damage was done." Other aliens in the crowd began to murmur among themselves. The simple moral clarity of a human child had done something that years of political maneuvering could not. It had made them think. Jake knelt down and scooped Krista into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, and her skin felt cold despite the glowing patches. "Lisa, lead the way to the ship. Emma, stay close to me." As they began to move toward the docking bays, the Zephyrian officials shouted threats and demands. But they made no move to physically stop the humans. Perhaps they were as surprised as everyone else by what was happening. The crowd of aliens parted before them, creating a path to the exit. Some looked disapproving, others curious, and a few seemed genuinely moved by what they were witnessing. As they reached the edge of the plaza, Jake heard Emma whisper to Krista, "Don't worry. We're going to take care of you." The alien woman's patches pulsed once with a soft blue light, the first normal color Jake had seen from them since her exile. It was a small sign of hope, but it was enough. The Liberty's Edge medical bay hummed quietly as Dr. Lisa Chun worked over Krixta's unconscious form. The alien woman lay on the examination table, her bioluminescent patches now pulsing in a steady rhythm instead of the chaotic flashing from before. The medication Lisa had given her was helping, but it was only a temporary fix. Jake stood in the doorway, watching his daughter sit beside the alien woman. Emma held buttons in her lap, talking softly to Krista, even though the alien couldn't hear her. The sight made his heart ache. His daughter's innocence was beautiful, but it was also dangerous in a galaxy where politics mattered more than compassion. "How is she?" Jake asked Lisa quietly. The doctor looked up from her scanner, her face serious. "The genetic marker is more complex than I thought. It's not just making other Zephyrians reject her. It's actually changing her DNA structure, making her body attack itself. Without proper treatment, she'd die within days." "Can you save her?" "Maybe, but I need better equipment. The kind they have on Earth or at major medical stations. What I have here can only slow down the process." Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He had made the choice to help Krista, but now he was realizing just how big that choice was. This wasn't just about giving someone a ride to safety. This was about standing up to one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. The door to the medical bay opened, and First Officer Danny Rodriguez entered. His usually calm face was worried. "Captain, we have a problem. Station security is demanding we turn over the alien." "What did you tell them?" "That we're providing medical assistance to someone who was injured, but they're not buying it." "The Zephyrian officials are claiming we're harboring a criminal." Jake rubbed his forehead. He had known this would happen, but he had hoped they might have more time. "What's the legal situation?" "Complicated. Technically, we're in neutral space, so Earth law applies to us. But the station is governed by the Galactic Trade Commission, and they have agreements with the Zephyrians." Emma looked up from where she sat beside Krista. "What does that mean?" Danny knelt down to her level, his voice gentle. "It means some very important people are angry that we're helping your friend. But she didn't do anything wrong," Emma protested. "She just asked questions." "I know, sweetheart. But sometimes the people in charge don't like it when others ask questions." Jake's communication device beeped. The message was from Earth Command, marked urgent. He read it quickly, his stomach sinking with each word. "What is it?" Lisa asked. "Orders. From Admiral Kevin Brooks. We're to surrender the alien immediately and report to Earth for debriefing." The room fell silent. Even Emma seemed to understand the seriousness of the situation. "They're scared," Danny said after a moment. "The Zephyrians are threatening to cut off trade with Earth if we don't comply." Jake thought about what that would mean. Earth's colonies needed the rare minerals that only came from Zephyrian space. The terraforming projects on Mars and Europa depended on alien technology. Thousands of jobs would be lost if the Zephyrians followed through on their threat. "So, we just give up?" Emma asked, her voice small. "It's not that simple, honey," Jake said, sitting down beside her. "Sometimes grown-ups have to make hard choices. If we don't do what they say, a lot of people on Earth might suffer." Emma was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Then she looked up at her father with those clear blue eyes that reminded him so much of her mother. "Daddy, do you remember what you told me when Billy Henderson was picking on the little kids at school?" Jake smiled sadly. "I told you that sometimes. You have to stand up to bullies even when it's scary. The Zephyrians are bullies, aren't they?" Before Jake could answer, Krista's eyes fluttered open. She looked around the medical bay with confusion, then focused on Emma sitting beside her. "Little human," she whispered. "You stayed," Emma smiled. "I said I would take care of you. I keep my promises." Krista struggled to sit up, and Lisa helped her. The alien woman's patches were now glowing a soft blue, much healthier than before. She looked at each of the humans in the room, her expression filled with wonder. "Why?" she asked. "Why help me? You do not know me. I am nothing to you." "People, because it's the right thing to do," Emma said simply. Krista's patches pulsed brighter. "The right thing? Yes, I understand this phrase. It is why I question the caste system. It is why I am exiled." She reached into a hidden pocket in her clothes and pulled out a small data crystal. "I was not just asking questions. I was working on something that could help my people." Lisa took the crystal and inserted it into the medical bay's computer. Data flowed across the screen in complex patterns that Jake couldn't understand, but Lisa's eyes grew wide. "This is incredible," she breathed. "It's a genetic treatment that could remove the caste markers from Zephyrian DNA, all of them, permanently. That's why they exiled me," Krista said. "If this technology became known, it would end their control over the lower castes. Millions of my people could be free." Jake felt the situation shift again. This wasn't just about saving one alien woman. This was about information that could change an entire civilization. "How many Zephyrians are in the lower castes?" he asked. "Most of us," Krista replied. "Perhaps 80% of our population. We are kept in line by the genetic markers that make us submit to the upper castes. Without them, we would be equals." Emma looked up at her father. Daddy, this is really important, isn't it? Jake nodded. Yes, sweetheart, this is very important. The communication device beeped again. This time it was a direct message from the station administrator. Liberty's Edge, you have 1 hour to surrender the exiled Zephyrion. After that, we will consider you in violation of station regulations and take action accordingly. Danny shook his head. They're not bluffing. Vexstar has the authority to impound our ship and arrest us all. What about the other humans on the station? Jake asked. Most of them are keeping their distance. Captain Walsh and Captain Martinez are standing by us, but the others are worried about their own ships. Lisa looked up from the data crystal. This research is groundbreaking. It could revolutionize genetic medicine for all species, not just Zephyrians. If we turn her over, this knowledge dies with her. Jake felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. On one side was the safety of his daughter and crew, plus the economic security of Earth. On the other side was the life of an innocent alien woman and the freedom of millions of others. What do you want to do? He asked Emma. His daughter looked at him with surprising seriousness. I want to do what Mommy would have done. Karen would have helped Krixta without hesitation, Jake knew. His wife had always believed that doing the right thing was more important than doing the safe thing. It was one of the reasons he had fallen in love with her. The crew should vote, Danny said. This decision affects all of us. Jake nodded. Call everyone to the main cargo bay. We'll put it to a vote. 20 minutes later, the entire crew of the Liberty's Edge stood in the cargo bay. There were 12 of them in total, from different backgrounds and with different reasons for working in space. Jake had told them everything, including the potential consequences of their choice. Chief Engineer Betty Walsh spoke first. I've got 3 kids back on Earth. If we lose our trading licenses, I won't be able to support them. I understand, Jake said. No one will think less of you for voting to turn her over. Communications Officer Ray Parker raised his hand. What about the other Zephyrians? The ones in the lower castes? Don't they deserve a chance at freedom? It's not our fight, argued cargo specialist Maria Santos. We're humans, not Zephyrian revolutionaries. Emma had been listening quietly, but now she stepped forward. Can I say something? The crew members looked at each other, then nodded. Despite her age, Emma had become the moral center of this crisis. I know I'm just a kid, she began, but I think my mommy would want us to help Krixta. Not because it's easy, but because it's right. And maybe because that's what makes us human. The cargo bay was silent for a long moment. Then Betty Walsh smiled. You know what? The kid's right. I got into this business to see the galaxy and make a difference. Maybe it's time I actually did that. One by one, the crew members voted. When it was done, the result was unanimous. They would help Krixta whatever the cost. Jake felt a surge of pride in his crew and his daughter. They were about to risk everything for a stranger, and they were doing it with their eyes wide open. All right then, he said. Let's see if we can make it off this station without starting a war. Outside the ship, Jake could see security forces gathering. The real test was just beginning. The Liberty's Edge engines hummed to life as Jake prepared for departure. Through the bridge windows, he could see security forces surrounding their docking bay. Station guards in full armor held energy weapons while Zephyrian officials stood. Behind them, their golden robes bright against the gray metal of the station. They're not going to let us leave peacefully, Danny observed from his position at the navigation console. I didn't think they would, Jake replied, his hands steady on the controls despite the tension in his voice. In the medical bay, Dr. Lisa Chun continued working on Krixta while Emma sat nearby. The alien woman was stronger now, able to sit up and talk, but her condition was still fragile. The genetic marker was fighting against Lisa's treatments, and time was running out. Captain Morrison, this is Station Administrator Vexstar, came the voice over the communication system. You are ordered to power down your engines and surrender the criminal immediately. Jake picked up the communicator. Negative, Vexstar. We have a medical emergency aboard. We're departing for the nearest hospital facility. Your lies will not work, human. You have 30 seconds to comply, or we will disable your ship. Jake looked at his crew. They had made their choice, and now they had to live with it. All hands, prepare for emergency departure. The Liberty's Edge pulled away from the docking bay with a sudden burst of acceleration. Station security ships immediately moved to intercept them, but Jake was a skilled pilot. He had been flying cargo ships for 15 years and knew how to handle a vessel in tight spaces. 3 security ships closing in, reported Ray Parker from the communications station. They're powering up their weapons. Are they really going to shoot at us? Emma asked, her voice worried but not afraid. I hope not, sweetheart, Jake said, though he wasn't sure. The political situation had spiraled far beyond what anyone had expected. The Liberty's Edge cleared the station's docking area and entered. Open space. For a moment, Jake thought they might actually escape without a fight. Then the space around them filled with ships. A massive Zephyrian battle cruiser appeared directly in front of them, its hull gleaming with weapon ports. 2 smaller escort ships flanked it, while a third vessel that Jake didn't recognize moved to block their escape route. Liberty's Edge, this is Commander Zarthak of the Zephyrian Imperial Navy, came a new voice, cold and commanding. You are carrying stolen property and harboring a criminal. Surrender immediately or face the consequences. Jake's mouth went dry. This wasn't just station security anymore. The Zephyrians had brought in military ships, which meant they were treating this as a serious threat to their authority. Danny, send an emergency message to Earth Command, Jake ordered. Tell them we need immediate assistance. Already tried. Captain, the message went through, but the response wasn't what we hoped for. Jake's heart sank. What did they say? Admiral Brooks says no help is coming. The political situation is too delicate. We're on our own. The reality of their situation hit Jake like a physical blow. Earth Command was abandoning them to avoid a diplomatic crisis. They were one small cargo ship facing down the military might of an interstellar empire. Daddy, what do we do now? Emma asked Dot before Jake could answer. The communication system crackled with a new transmission. This one wasn't coming from the Zephyrian ships. Liberty's Edge, this is Captain Susan Walsh of the Golden Horizon. We're moving to your position. Jake looked at his scanner display in amazement. The Golden Horizon was approaching from the left, its cargo bays open in the universal signal of peaceful intent, but its shields raised for protection. Susan, get out of here, Jake transmitted. This isn't your fight. Like hell it isn't, came Walsh's gravelly voice. That little girl of yours made a pretty good speech back on the station. Made me remember why I became a spacer in the first place. Another voice joined the communication channel. Liberty's Edge, this is Captain Tony Martinez of the New Frontier. We're with you. Then more voices began chiming in. Captain Jim Foster of the Star Wanderer. Captain Nancy Price of the Deep Space Runner. Captain Mike Johnson of the Far Horizon. One by one, human cargo ships appeared on Jake's scanner, forming a protective formation around the Liberty's Edge. What are you all doing? Jake asked, his voice thick with emotion. What's right? Captain Walsh replied simply. Commander Zarthak's voice cut through the chatter. Human vessels, you are interfering with Imperial justice? Withdraw immediately or face military action. We're just cargo haulers, Captain Walsh transmitted back. No weapons, no military training, just people trying to do the right thing. In the medical bay, Krixta had managed to make her way to a small window. Emma helped her look out at the gathering of human ships. They are risking everything for me, Krixta whispered. I do not understand. It's because you're not just you. Emma explained with the simple wisdom of a child. You're everyone who's ever been hurt by bullies. And humans don't like bullies. The standoff continued for several minutes. The Zephyrian battlecruiser could easily destroy all the human ships, but doing so would mean killing dozens of innocent civilians. The political consequences of such an action would be severe, even for a powerful empire. Jake made a decision. He opened a general communication channel that would reach all the ships in the area, including any news vessels that might be monitoring the situation. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Liberty's Edge. We are not criminals or rebels. We are Simply humans who saw someone in need and chose to help. The woman we're protecting didn't commit any crime except asking why some people are born free while others are born slaves. He paused, looking back toward the medical bay where his daughter sat with Krixta. My 8-year-old daughter saw an injured person and wanted to help. She didn't care about politics or trade agreements. She just knew that letting someone die was wrong. Maybe we could all learn something from that kind of thinking. Emma had been listening to her father's words. Now she asked if she could talk too. Jake hesitated, then handed her the communicator. "Hello," Emma said in her small, clear voice. "My name is Emma Morrison. I'm 8 years old, and I want to tell you about my friend Krixta." Across the galaxy, news stations picked up the transmission. On dozens of worlds, people stopped what they were doing to listen to a human child speaking from the middle of a military standoff. "Krixta is really nice," Emma continued. She asked some questions that made important people angry, and they hurt her really bad for it. But asking questions isn't wrong. My teacher says questions are how we learn things. The communication channel was completely silent except for Emma's voice. "I don't understand why grown-ups think it's okay to hurt people just for asking questions. And I don't understand why everyone is so scared to help her. My daddy taught me that helping people is always the right thing to do, even when it's scary." Emma handed the communicator back to her father. Unaware that her words were being broadcast across the galaxy, the effect was immediate. On the Zephyrian battlecruiser, junior officers began questioning their orders. On worlds throughout the galaxy, citizens called their representatives demanding to know why their government supported such cruelty. But the most dramatic change came from an unexpected source. On the escort ship flanking the battlecruiser, a young Zephyrian officer named Kolreth made a decision that would change everything. "Commander," he transmitted on an open channel, "I request permission to stand down." "What?" Commander Zarthak's voice was sharp with surprise. "The human child speaks truth. We are about to destroy innocent people to protect an unjust system. I cannot be part of this." Other voices began joining Kolreth on the communication channel. Junior officers, enlisted crew members, even some senior staff began expressing doubts about their mission. "This is mutiny," Commander Zarthak declared. "No, sir," Kolreth replied. "This is conscience." The standoff had become something much larger than anyone had expected. What started as one child's act of kindness had grown into a moment that would define how species treated each other in the galaxy. Jake watched his scanner as the formation of ships held their positions. Human cargo vessels face down an Imperial battle fleet with nothing but moral conviction to protect them. "Daddy," Emma said softly, "are we going to be okay?" Jake looked at his daughter, then at the alien woman they were protecting, then at the display showing the ships that had come to help them. "You know what, sweetheart? I think we're going to be better than okay." Lucy stood between the tall Vorthic soldiers and her friend Zephyra. The little girl's hands were shaking, but she did not move. Her heart beat fast as she looked up at the scary alien warriors. Their crystal bodies sparkled with angry red light. "You will move, human child," said High Inquisitor Krex in his cold voice. "The Exiled belongs to us." "No," Lucy said. Her voice was small but clear. "Zephyra is my friend." "Friends don't let friends get hurt?" Behind Lucy, Zephyra's black crystals began to glow with a soft light. The alien creature had never felt such pure love before in her long life. No one had ever stood up for her like this brave little human girl. Captain Lisa Martinez stepped forward with her crew. "The child is right. We don't give up on people who need help." More humans joined them. Engineer Paul Chun put his hand on his daughter's shoulder. He was scared but proud. Dr. Sam Rodriguez stood beside them with his medical scanner. Even Commander Jake Morrison walked over to their side. "This is foolish," Krex said. "You cannot win against us. We have bigger ships and better weapons." "Maybe," said Captain Martinez. "But we have something you don't understand. We have heart." The Vorthek soldiers raised their energy weapons. The humans did not have many guns, but they stood together anyway. Lucy held Zephyra's crystal hand tight. Suddenly, something amazing happened. Lucy's feelings of love and care flowed into Zephyra through their touch. The alien's damaged mind began to heal. Her black crystals started to change color. Little spots of blue light appeared in the dark crystal. High Inquisitor Krex stepped back in shock. Impossible, the exile mark cannot be removed. You're wrong, said Dr. Rodriguez. The black crystals aren't a punishment. They're a sign of deep sadness and hurt. This child's love is healing your exile. More blue light spread through Zephyr's crystals. She stood up straight for the first time in months. Her telepathic voice spoke clearly to everyone around her. I remember now, Zephyra said. I remember why I refused to hurt the young ones. Love is stronger than fear. This human child has shown me what I forgot. The other Vortex soldiers began to lower their weapons. They had never seen the exile mark fade before. Their rigid society taught them that exiles were forever marked and could never return. Krex's own crystals began to flicker with confusion. This changes nothing. You still broke our law. Your law is wrong, Lucy said. She looked right at the tall alien leader. You punish people for being kind. That's not right. The simple truth from the child hit Krex like a physical blow. In his long life, he had never questioned their ways. But now, seeing the healing power of compassion, doubt crept into his mind. Zephyra walked forward, her crystals now showing patches of beautiful blue. I was not sick because I was exiled. I was sick because I believed I was wrong to show mercy. This child has taught me that kindness is never wrong. The Shithari insects on the station began to click their mandibles in thought. The gaseous nebulans swirled with new colors. Even the proud Saurians looked uncomfortable. They had all turned away from Zephyra, but now they saw their mistake. If healing is possible, said one of the Vortex soldiers, then perhaps our understanding is incomplete. Krex's crystal body began to pulse with different colors. His certainty was cracking. The old ways have guided us for thousands of years. Old ways can be wrong ways, Lucy said. My dad taught me that. He said we should always try to do better. Paul Chin smiled at his daughter. That's right, Lucy. We learn and we grow. The tension in the room began to fade. The Vortex soldiers put away their weapons. Some of them looked at Zephyra with new eyes, seeing not a shameful exile, but a being who had chosen compassion over cruelty. I will not return to Vorthak, Zephyra announced. I choose to stay with the humans. They have shown me a better way to live. You cannot abandon your people, Krex said, but his voice lacked its earlier strength. I am not abandoning them, Zephyra replied. I am showing them a new path. Perhaps someday they will understand. Captain Martinez stepped forward. Zephyra, would you like to join our diplomatic corps? We need people who understand different species. I would be honored, Zephyra said. Her crystals now glowed with steady blue light. Lucy clapped her hands with joy. Does this mean you can stay and be my friend? Forever, little one, Zephyra said. You saved me in ways I never thought possible. High Inquisitor Krex stood silent. For a long moment, finally he spoke. This encounter has shown me things I do not understand. I must think about what I have seen here. You're welcome to stay and learn, Commander Morrison offered. We have room for visitors. No, Krex said, but I will not forget this day. Perhaps the Vorthek have been wrong about many things. As the Vorthek fleet prepared to leave, other aliens on the station began to approach Zephyra. They offered apologies for their cold treatment. They had let fear and old prejudices guide them. We were wrong to shun you, said the Shithari ambassador. Your crime was mercy, not cruelty. I understand, Zephyra said. Fear makes us do things we later regret. In the days that followed, the station became a different place. News of what happened spread across the galaxy. Other exiles and outcasts began to arrive, seeking the sanctuary that humans offered. Lucy became known as the youngest diplomat in galactic history. She didn't understand all the big words people used, but she knew she had helped her friend. That was what mattered to her. Zephyra worked with human diplomats to help other aliens who had been cast out by their societies. She traveled to different worlds, sharing her story and showing that exile didn't have to mean the end of hope. One day, Lucy asked her crystal friend a question. Zephyra, why were you the only one who got in trouble for being nice? Because sometimes, little one, it takes great courage to be kind when everyone else chooses to be cruel. But you showed me that the courage is worth it. The mining station became a beacon of hope in the galaxy. Humans earned a reputation as the species that would stand up for anyone who needed help. They showed the galaxy that technology and weapons weren't the only kinds of strength. Lucy grew up knowing that she had changed the universe just by being kind to someone who needed a friend. She learned that sometimes the smallest acts of love can heal the biggest wounds, and Zephyra, once an exile with no hope, became a symbol of redemption. She proved that the past doesn't have to define the future, and that with enough love and support, anyone can find their way back to the light. The story of the human child and the exiled alien spread across countless worlds. It reminded everyone that in a vast, often cold universe, compassion remains the most powerful force of all. Years later, when Lucy became a real diplomat, she kept a crystal pendant that Zephyra had given her. It glowed with soft blue light, a reminder of the day when a little girl's love changed everything. The galaxy learned an important lesson that day. Sometimes the greatest heroes aren't the ones with the biggest ships or the strongest weapons. Sometimes they're just children who refuse to let their friends suffer alone.